What does a case manager do? A day of a case manager always kind of goes like this. You come in with a plan, and then that goes completely awry, and you deal with the other things that you have to do. But some of it, I mean, it looks like a lot of different things. It looks like a lot of connecting with resources for folks. It looks like filling out paperwork. But it also looks a lot like listening. And I think that's one of the biggest things that we can offer to people is just to listen to them. So the case management process looks different depending on the client. So sometimes in outreach, and Corvallis Housing First is very involved in street outreach here in Benton County. Sometimes it can happen from someone's vehicle straight into housing. So I met a lady who was sleeping in her car on outreach, and she was having difficulty getting to use her housing voucher. She had the voucher, she was running out of time, she couldn't find a place, and she needed some help getting an extension and then getting into housing. And so we were able to facilitate that, and within a short period of time, she did get into an apartment. The goal of case management is to assist people to find their home, and that can take weeks, days, it can take years, but that's really the goal. That's differs for every client. Every client has a different definition of what home is and how they're going to get there. And then we can help facilitate that, and it can take time, which is why it's great that we're at the shelters and we're doing case management at that level. I think the unique role that case management for Corvallis Housing First is that it's low barrier. So we are willing to reach out to people where they're at. And that can be very challenging. Sometimes I think that case management is the simplest job in the world because, listening is so important. And then sometimes I think it's the most complicated job in the world because it is so complex and you have to know about the systems and the services that are available in our community. You have to work with clients who have had poor experiences with those systems and services. They have issues of their own, so it makes it very complex. The one thing that we see over and over again is just a huge amount of trauma for most of our clients. And that trauma started early. In many cases, it was never resolved or healed, and they're still carrying that forward with them today. And that can be challenging to hear that, to take that in while you're listening, and then process it. So that, which is another reason I'm so grateful for Corvallis Housing First. We have a great team here, and that without a good team, doing case management would be, I don't know if it would be an impossibility, but it would be a super big challenge. I think one of the biggest rewards of doing case management for me is I get to participate in people's lives. I am constantly surprised at just how interesting people are. And they're so willing to share their story with me. That feels like a blessing. That feels like sometimes something I don't deserve. But when you get to know people, they're so human. They're so personal. That's a huge reward. There are moments you get to see that happen. You get to see some healing. You get to see some just some relaxing, some letting go of those traumas that they've experienced. And of course, there's almost nothing better than witnessing someone find a home after they have not had one for years. One thing I wish people understood better is that these are people with real stories. And a lot of times these stories are filled with trauma. But the person that we see on the street has this entire background. And we don't often get to glimpse into how they made it to this one point in their life. So on the one hand, it would be great if they had that perspective. But on the other hand, these are people who are still moving forward the best of their ability. Very few people want to be in that situation. They have goals, they have dreams, they have needs, but they are still moving forward. And I think that's important to remember, that these are people who want to be positive and active members of the community. I wish that people would keep that in mind. And I do think that's one of the values of case management is, when you build that relationship, you are getting to know them, because a lot of people will just walk by without even recognizing that they exist. Our outreach team does a great job of getting to know people and learning their names. And so being able to address somebody by name, to know a little bit of their story is huge. That returns to them some of their humanity, that they feel ignored, they feel invisible. So outreach does a great job of that, and that's part of building that relationship.